Soon.
Hi, Melvin.
Hello, hello, hello. We'll get started soon.
Hi, Melvin. Excuse me, Mr. Melvin. Why is there this class? Isn't because we got no homework.
We're going through the mock exam, so I'll break everything down soon.
Okay.
Mm.
So, what are we doing in this class?
Sorry, what do you mean where?
What are we doing for this class?
Uh, s- what are we doing? The mock
Mhm.
exam. The mock exam.
Okay.
All right. So, guys, we're getting started now. We're gonna get started now. So the plan is to go through your mock exam. So we will go through uh, reading comprehension today and then writing. I'll go through some writing things and then maybe a bit of maths. But that's the main goal for today. Now, the reason we're doing this now as well is because the mock exam is huge, as you guys saw. There's 35 questions in each subject. And then even with the homework that we sent you, even when you only have about, 16 questions to do, you're not really able to complete most of it in class, right? So imagine trying to do twice as much for both subjects. So hopefully we get to cover almost all of it this week and next week. But yeah. Um, Yes, this class will tell you the answers, but because you don't have the bubble sheets, it shouldn't matter. And even if you do get the answers, it if you're the type of person who's going to change your answers for the mock exam, it just tells me that, you're not here to learn. Like, what's the benefit of changing your answers for a practice exam? Because again, it was just for practice. It's not to see, how smart you guys are or anything like that. It's just for you to practice about the exam conditions. So we'll get started with reading. Actually, we'll get started with a quick run through of um, reading comprehension and writing. Just a few tips I want to share with you. All right. Okay. So this was a writing topic. Now, this was fairly, I would say, an easy writing subject to do, just because this is a very simple idea of a fish that is going against the flow. So all the fishes are going to the right side, while you have a single fish that's going against the flow. And again, the quote is going against the flow. The reason, again, why this was so easy was the message behind the image is not that difficult, and there's so many different ideas that you could write about going against the flow, right? Now, if you wrote a story along the following lines about an actual fish, right? The probability that you'll get top marks is very low, right? Again, you have to understand that the test is all about, creativity. And if you simply just write about an actual fish, now obviously there's exceptions. If you simply write about an actual fish, the probability of you getting high marks is pretty low. What you should start off is by looking at the image and asking yourself, what is the image talking about? The image is talking about going against the flow, about being independent, being unique, standing up for yourself, yourself slash values, etc. Right? So instead of being a trend follower, be a trend setter, right? So that's what that's what uh the message behind this image is. Now, you could do so many different things with that. For example, if you want to talk about, in school, where everyone was being mean to the new student and you decided to go against the flow and you decided to be nice, that's something you can do. Or you could talk about how, let's just say in sports, everyone wanted to be everyone wanted to give up, but towards the end of the game, when you felt like you were losing, but you decided you were going to fight through the difficulty and you wanted to win, you wanted to go against the flow, something like that. Or even you could write about, for example, everyone in your school or everyone in your city, they don't care about the environment, that they're littering and they're not using the bins and stuff like that. And you decided to go into flow, and instead of throwing your rubbish on the floor, you decide to pick it up and then put it in the bin. So whatever it is, as long as you kind of talk about that idea, you should do about you should, I guess, pass to an extent if you're able to think outside the box. Now, something that'll be extremely unique. By the way, I think someone is trying to speak. Remember, I don't take questions over the microphone, right? So if you have a question, I'll recommend you sending it in the chat. I'll take a look at it and then I'll, if it's super important, I'll try to answer it. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue with the lesson. So one other thing, by the way, guys, that could really set you apart is going like, for example, remember everyone is going to, for example, the most basic idea is just writing about actual fish, right? That's the most basic thing that you can see. The next most common thing is almost any student who looks at the topic, if they understand the topic, they'll talk about actually going against the flow, right? Um, so going against the flow, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, it's good to stand out, be unique." If you really wanted to stand out, and if you really wanted to do well, you would follow the advice of the topic and you would go against the topic itself. You would say, hey, actually, I think there is nothing wrong in going against the flow, going with the flow. In fact, I believe it's important that, we should go against the flow. And then maybe you write about following the wisdom of, experts, or the following the wisdom of your elders or the people who've come before you, and following the wisdom of tradition, things like that, right? That is taking a very, I would say the word is contrarian. Contrarian. It means you're taking essentially a position that most people will disagree with on. And for this topic, most people will write about a story, a persuasive, whatever they write about, they will talk about, if they understand the message, they will talk about being unique, being independent, things like that. But if you can take the opposite side of it, you will definitely be in the minority, and therefore you're more likely to stand out, right? So if you guys have any questions about anything that I've said or about the writing, you can send it now and I'll check the chat. What mark is good in writing? I would say anything above 35, I think that's very good. The average is usually about 24 out of 50 or 25 out of 50. Yeah, you don't have to worry about the colors being black and white. The colors didn't really matter, so it should be fine. So contrarian is someone who goes against the crowd. Um, Okay. So a few people said, hey, I actually wrote about fish. Will I still get a good mark if it was a good story? Yes, you could get a good mark if it was a good story. But the question is, define a good story. Like, what, the bar is so much, like the difficulty of you standing out and writing a very good story. If you actually wrote about just fish, it's very, very, the requirement is so much higher, right? On the other side, there's a few people asking me, what happens if I didn't write about the topic? If you did not write about this topic at all, if it's not clear that you've talked about the topic, you will get a zero. And that's what happens to kids in GATE who don't write about the topic. Your marker will assume that you've prepared or memorized a random story and you've just written that, even if you haven't, because you need to write about the topic. I mean, if they don't care about you not writing about the topic, why would they give you a topic in the first place, right? So you need to write about the topic, otherwise you won't get marks. Um, and then another good question was, how much should you write on the GATE exam? You should aim to write at least one full A4 page, like the one side of it, and then a maximum of 1.5 page, because you only have 25 minutes, and therefore, you want to give yourself enough time to think of a good idea, write it in the given time, and then have time to edit it as well. Mm. Okay. A few questions about, okay, what if I wrote a poem? What if I wrote a persuasive? What if I wrote an infographic? Whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter which text type you choose. Again, the main thing you have to keep in mind is that it just has to be good, right? And that's the hard part. You got to ask yourself, am I better at writing poems, or am I better at writing, narratives? Or am I better at writing narratives, or am I better at writing persuasive? You really have to ask yourself, you have 25 minutes, you have one topic that 6,000 other students look at. How can you show your best side to the marker with whichever, writing text that you choose? So, for example, if you choose a poem and you write a poem like, I don't know what this type of poem is called, but you do Fish, and then you say, fish is an animal. Fish is delicious. Sushi is nice. Hungry me like fish, right? If you do something like this where you have 4 lines and you just write about fish like that, right? You're not going to do quite well. On the other side, if you talk about very mature or deep ideas using the topic, then of course you will do well. But I've rarely seen students do well with poetry. Mm, okay. All right. So, okay. And then finally, one other question was, if you wrote a story that's based off a book, a movie, um, a fairy tale, anything that's existing, but if you copied someone else's story, you will get pretty low marks, even if you change it. And look, again, it's all dependent, right? So, for example, recently I've had a student, she wrote a story that's based off a very, very like small, it's not a famous movie. Like, I would say it's a very, very small set of people in the world would have seen this movie. Um, and it was like a French movie that I saw when I was studying year 11 and 12 French, right? I don't think many people have seen this in the world, right? But she copied the story exactly, and obviously she changed up a few things, But because she was unlucky that her marker, which was me, who's seen this movie, she got a pretty bad score because again, I know that she's copying. Similarly, if you guys copy a movie that you've seen and the marker has no idea what that movie is, then you'll be fine. But then if they do know that movie, then you won't do well because you're not being creative. You're not being unique. You're copying someone else's story or idea. So make sure to not copy these things. All right, so let's move on to reading comprehension. One second, I'm just going to put the
Excuse me.
lights on in my room and I'll be right back. If you guys have any questions, send it in the chat. If I haven't answered your question, it's probably because I've just chosen to choose the most important questions. There's some questions I've seen things like, what mark do I need or is my story good? Things like that. I'm just going to skip those questions. It's just really not important at this stage of the classes. As we get closer to the gate exam, we can go a lot more in depth of how the exam is marked and things like that. But yeah, if you have a question, you can still send it in the chat. I'll take a look at it. Let me just turn the lights on. I'll be right back. All right. So let's see, last few questions. Yeah, last few questions are all about, do they mark it out of this? Do they mark it out of that? How much do you mark off? Um, Things of that. And not super important. So I'm just going to skip through. Someone said they want to take a screenshot of this page. So I'll just quickly have it here. And then, yeah, I'm not sure if these notes are actually useful, but if you want to take a screenshot, you can go take it. All right, let's go through reading comprehension. Now, I really liked the reading comprehension section for this mock exam. There was a nice variety of text types that you had, and I think the questions was what is this? Okay. Yeah, I don't think the questions were too difficult. But yeah, let's see. One other thing I just wanted to do before we get started. All right, awesome. Yeah. So the first thing I want to tell you guys about reading comprehension or any exam you do essentially. Now, some exams, there's a caveat to this rule, but here's the thing. If you look at the reading comprehension mock exam test, right? This text here, it's one, two, three, four, four paragraphs, tiny paragraphs, and you have one, two, three, four, five, six questions associated with it. This, I would say, is half as big as this poem, and it has one, two, three, four, five, six. So same amount of questions with half as much reading to do. And then if you go late towards the end, let's take a look. Actually, maybe not in that. Like this one, I pencil, that is all of that, all of that, all of that. So you have, almost half a page of reading to do for one, two, three, four questions. So there's fewer questions, but a lot more, reading to do. So essentially what I would tell you guys is prioritize by doing the sections where you have less reading and more questions that you can do. And that would really help you, I guess, get the most amount of marks within the limited time that you have. So let's start off with the first one. First, do we have poems? If A Father's Advice to His Son by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. So let's just start off with this first paragraph. Anyone want to send it in the chat what you think this paragraph means? So, Leandra, what do you think this first paragraph means? Any idea? That's all good. Jashvika, what do you think? Hannah, do you want to unmute yourself and say what you think? Sorry, Jashvika, go on.
Um, I think it kind of means like the if when it goes if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for the doubting too. It kind of means like to let people doubt you, but then like not take their doubts, not let their doubts take the best of you.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect, right? And then the first one is what does it mean when someone loses their head? What do you think, Jashvika?
Um, kind of maybe remain calm and collected.
Yeah. So like if you can stay calm and collected when everyone around you is if either losing their head as in like they're actually getting arrested or executed and everyone's blaming it on you. So or for example, if everyone's panicking and they're blaming the problem on you, but you can stay calm and collected. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you. So if you can, be confident in your abilities even when people doubt you, but at the same time give credibility to other people's thoughts, not be too self-confident, right? That's what the first paragraph is saying. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. So, Priya, what do you think this paragraph means?
I think it might mean that to not talk too wise, it means to not think too much about yourself and like remain modest.
Good. What do you think, Alaska?
Maybe that you shouldn't be way too confident in yourself and go like, oh, I can do this. I don't need anyone to help or support me.
Yeah. Well, so again, guys, let's break it down line by line, right? So the first line just says, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, right? So have you heard the expression that good things come to those who wait?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's saying that if you can wait and not be tired of actually waiting, or when people are lying about you, you don't deal in lies yourself, right? Or when people hate you, you don't give way to hating those who hate you. And yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. Again, emphasis on the word that says look too good, right? So, for example, if you're actually good, then you're not looking good, right? You're actually good. Or if you're wise, you're not looking to show, you're not looking wise, you're actually wise. But there's a reason why people say, oh, I think it looks like D. When we say the word look, it kind of refers to the idea that, we know that the things we see are not how things actually are, and we're not sure. It looks like it, but we're not sure. Do you guys understand? And on the other side, it could also, again, also talk about people trying to look good or trying to be wise when they're actually not who they are, right? So that's what the second paragraph is talking about. These first two paragraphs so far, what do you guys think? What do you think the message of the poem is so far, Anya? If you were to take the sum or the total of the first two paragraphs, what do you think the message is about this poem so far?
It's about not being overconfident and don't support others' opinions on you.
Kind of, yeah. James?
I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. Let's see. If you guys, Tina.
Maybe it means like not like letting anyone like discriminate your choices, sort of.
Mm-hmm. You're in the right track. Let's take a look, by the way, we're taking our time breaking down reading comprehension because we normally don't do reading comprehension. And I just want to, break it down this lesson, take a bit of time going through it. But starting off, let's look at the title. It says, If a Father's Advice to His Son by Rudyard Kipling. So we know this is advice by a father to his son. So usually advice is about how to live good or be good, right? And so far it's saying, the first line is saying, people will lose their head and they blame it on you, but you should keep calm. If people doubt you, you should trust yourself, but also give, a little bit of credibility for their doubting. If you can wait and not be tired of waiting, people might lie about you, but you're not going to lie. If people hate you, but you don't, fall to hate, and you're not you shouldn't look too good or pretend to be too wise, right? So it's about advice on how to be a good person so far. It's also talking about so far about how most people act and behave and how you should be different compared to them. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. So let's see. And James, do you know what this paragraph could mean?
Wait, which paragraph, sorry?
This one here, the second last one.
No comment.
Okay. Let's see. Reva. Reva?
I think this paragraph means if you do something, don't think about it too much or don't do it too much.
Well, let's break it down. So if you can dream and not make dreams your master, right? So he's saying you should dream, but don't make dreams your master. Well, many times people, everyone should have a dream of where they want to be, right? For example, all of you want to do well in the GATE exam, which is why you're studying here on a Sunday afternoon, right? But would it do you good if you make the dream of passing the GATE exam the only dream or the only purpose to your life? No, it
No.
won't do you good because, some things you can't control. What if on the day your marker is not happy or you make a mistake and then you fill in the wrong section, right? The impact of not doing well could be huge. So he's saying that you should dream, but don't let the dreams become your master. You should think, but don't not make thoughts your aim. So you should think about things, you should have, thoughts, you should have an idea of where to go. But you shouldn't make just the thoughts your aim. I'm thinking that he's saying here that you should keep your ideas open and you should keep the places you want to be or the places or the ideas you believe in. It's important that you have those, but those should not be the aim. Especially when you say thoughts your aim, I think he could be suggesting that you should strive for action and not just thoughts. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So these two lines here, I would say that was quite difficult for me when I first read this poem to understand. Anyone here figure out what those two lines could mean? Do you want to send it in the chat? I'll take a look. If any of you figured out what those two lines mean. if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. Fill your life in a short time to keep trying. 1 minute can change your life. You can make progress in times of difficulty. All right. So what these two lines are saying is that the unforgiving minute, he's making a reference to how time is relentless. As in time doesn't stop for anyone, right? For example, if you go back, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, there were kings on this planet who owned, all the gold and all the land that you could see, right? If you go back 100 years ago, 200 years ago, the King of England or the Queen of England owned almost half the planet. But even them, the richest people in the world or the most powerful people in the world, they could not stop time. Time doesn't stop for anyone. So he's saying that if you can fill this unforgiving minute. Now, a minute is made up of what? 60 seconds. So he's saying that if you can fill the minute, that every minute that passes, if you can fill it with 60 seconds worth of distance run, meaning that you use every single second to run towards, your virtues or being a better person or towards your goals, then everything in the earth and yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more. So more than the earth and everything that's in it, you'll be a man/woman, my son, my daughter, right? So the father in the story is telling his son that if you do all the things above, right? Because everything is says if you do all of those things, you get the earth and everything in the earth, all the things that you want. But what's more important is that you will be a better person. You'll be a man or you'll be a woman. Do you guys understand?
Yes, Melvin.
That's what the poem's about. So let's go through the questions. Starting off with question number one. The poem suggests that when you're losing your head, when others are losing their head and blaming it on you, you should, guys, thanks, I get it. When others are losing your head and blaming it on you, it doesn't mean that you should confront them aggressively. Again, so let's just break it down. From the text, we know that it's saying that you should not be like others. So if others are panicking, you should be the one who's calm and collected, right? Ignore the situation completely. No, he's not saying ignore it. He's saying that you can keep your head, you can keep cool and blame them in return. No. So the answer is A. Anyone have any questions about one? If you do, send it in the chat, right? So I'll go through these reading comprehension questions, but if you have any questions, just send it in the chat and I'll take a look. Lines 3 to 4 imply that trusting yourself while making allowance for others. So allows for others while making allowance for others doubting means that you ignore everyone else's opinion. This is wrong because the text says you should make allowance for their doubting too, right? So you should make allowance for the doubting too. So it's not ignoring everyone else's. Being aware of others' doubts, but maintaining self-confidence. So this line is saying that you should be aware of their aware of their doubts about you, but you should trust yourself, which is correct. Being aware but maintaining self-confidence, I agree with that. Seeking constant validation from others. So validation is you're seeking acceptance or approval from others, but the text is saying that you should trust yourself when others doubt you. So you should be able to make decisions even without the approval of others. So it's not C. Changing your actions based on others' doubts, that's incorrect as well. Question number 3, or being hated, don't give way to hating. So you should pretend to like everyone. So again, on being hated, don't give way to hating. So the author is saying that if people hate you, or in the poem, it says that when people lie about you or when people hate on you, don't be like them. Don't hate them back, or don't lie about them back. So it's not that you should pretend to like everyone. So this is incorrect. Again, the word pretend. Hatred should not influence your actions. So if the author is saying that if people hate you, you shouldn't hate them back, he is suggesting that just because someone treats you badly or someone lies about you, you shouldn't let that be the reason that you become just like them, right? So I would say this is the most correct one so far. Hatred is a natural response. It could be, I mean, I don't know, hate, yeah, like we think that is a common sense response, but that's not what the author is suggesting. Again, primarily suggests, right? You should avoid all negative emotions. The text is not saying you should be avoiding these things. You should avoid all negative emotions, because there's negative emotions that are important and good, like sadness, right? If your dog is sick, or your friend is sick, you should feel sadness for them, right? Even though it's negative emotion. So this is not correct as well. The best one is B. Primarily means like mainly. The comparison of dreams and thoughts to masters is included to emphasize what? So before I look at the answers, let's take a look at this again. By talking about dreams and then dreams and thoughts to masters, what they're saying is that, there's many people, especially adults, children not so much, but you guys know so many stories, especially like children's stories about adults who are always super busy, right? They don't have time for their husband or wife, and they don't have time for their kids. They're always busy because they're working towards their goal. It's important to work towards your goal, but it's also very important to make time for family and friends, right? This is pretty much almost every Disney movie that you read, right? So what the author in this paragraph is saying is that you should have dreams, you should have thoughts, but don't let them be your master. Don't let them control you. Do you guys understand?
Yes, Melvin.
So
Yes.
dreams and thoughts should be the main
Yes.
focus of your life.
Yeah.
This is not fully correct, because it's saying again main focus, right? Which is a bit problematic, especially in what the question's saying. One should never dream or think too much. I kind of agree, but this is not a very good way of saying it. Let's see if there's a better answer. Dreams and thoughts should inspire action, not control you. Good. I like this. So your dreams and actions, it's saying that you should dream, you should think, but don't let them be your master. So they should inspire you to do things, but they shouldn't control you. One should be indifferent to dreams and thoughts. No, indifferent means not care. And it's not saying you shouldn't care about your dreams and goals. You should work towards it. It's just that you shouldn't let them control you. According to the poem, trading triumph and disaster as two imposters, what does that mean? So this is a very good or very deep idea. So triumph and disaster as imposters. So the word imposter, yes, Priya.
Well, it's just that, well, I don't understand what it means by, I understand the sentence, but I just don't understand why they used the word if you can meet with triumph and disaster.
Oh, so have you okay, so in this see, one of the things about poetry that makes poetry a very difficult, I would say, text, or a very unpopular text, is because poetry doesn't care about logic. It's very much like animation. Like if you remember watching or if you remember seeing kids cartoons like Tom and Jerry, or um I guess Phineas and Ferb, or Augie and the Cockroaches, right? There's many things in those cartoons that kind of make sense, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense. So, for example, like if you watch Looney Tunes, you know how like the bunny would be on the branch, and then he would cut the branch, right? And instead of this side falling down, this tree falls over, right? So similarly, poetry, what poets like to do is they like to keep the spirit or the idea there, but
The
they don't,
confusingness?
yeah, but they don't follow the actual logic of things. So for example, are triumph and disaster, are they people or living things? Are they like things you can actually meet? Like, can I say, "Oh, hello, Triumph. How are you today?"
No, it's that I understand what the whatever you call it means, but it's just, couldn't you use like a different word?
Me
If
personally,
pardon?
me or the author?
The author, because well,
Yeah,
it would make at least more sense than what's happening up
that's
there.
true. But then that's like questioning why France didn't make the Eiffel Tower green in color or yellow in color, right? You shouldn't, we can't question the artist why he chose, a certain color to paint with. So similarly, what your Kipling is saying here is that imagine triumph and disaster as people. When you have, triumph in your life, when you win in life, sorry, the bell. One sec. Uh, all right. I think there's someone in my house. Let me just move to my bedroom real quick. Just stay on the call for a second. I'm just gonna move.
Is he getting kidnapped?
All right. Sorry, guys. Yeah, just moved rooms. Just I think someone at the house. So if you can meet with triumph and disaster, so whenever you succeed in life or whenever you fail at life, what the author is saying, you should treat these two imposters the same. So, Priya, what is an imposter?
An imposter is like a faker or like a pretender, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But the
Mhm.
sentence means that like triumph isn't like is like kind of an imposter, because I'm pretty sure because like you might get like too full of yourself,
Yeah.
but triumph and what was the other one? Disaster.
Yeah.
Disaster can sometimes bring you down.
Yeah. So for example, let's just say, like for the gate exam, right? Like there's many students that I've taught in the gate exam who didn't do well, who I think should have done well. They're very smart people. They just were unlucky. At the same time, there were students who I didn't see work that hard who did do quite well, right? I'm not saying they're dumb or anything. I'm just saying they could have been lucky. So in life, you could have success and failure, but it doesn't mean that though, success means that you're good and disaster means you're bad. You could just be lucky or unlucky, right? So that's what this um paragraph is saying. So both are deceptive and should be treated with detachment. So when those things happen, you should treat it as if, oh, cool, that happened. But you shouldn't allow it to control you. So for example, like this is something like for me, when sometimes some parents are super, super happy, they're super, super nice. I think that's very nice of them. But sometimes there's parents who are very, very rude or very, very angry. Again, you just have to treat it as things as they actually are. Like, you should treat it with detachment. You should work hard so you can maximize triumph and minimize disaster. But in life, you can't control everything. Do you guys understand?
Yes, Melvin.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
What's the best, closest word to imposter?
Yeah.
Imposter is it literally means someone who pretends to be someone else, right? Pretends to be someone else. So it's not a thief. A thief is someone who steals. Is could be a liar because you have to lie to be an imposter. An inquisitor is someone who does an inquiry, like they question you, but it's more like it's a very like old word for like um, called like the Spanish Inquisition and stuff. Someone who does inquiries. But the most correct one is fraud, because fraud is literally another word for someone who pretends to be someone else. All right. So let's go into the next few poems. Sorry, texts. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am a thousand winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on a snow on snow. I am the sun on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand there at my grave and cry, I am not there. I did not die. So let me go to Kumail. What do you think this poem means, Kumail?
I think it means that don't waste
Kumail,
your
are you in
time
bed?
at no.
Are you sure? Come on, get to your table. This is a proper class. Get your notebooks out.
Okay. I don't have a charger on my table.
How much percentage do you have left?
I have enough.
Good man. Come on, get up from bed. Good man. All right. So, Kumail, while you're moving, do you still want to tell us what this poem means?
Yeah. I think it means that don't waste your time at my grave and go do something useful.
Ooh, I think that could be something you could get out of it. What this
I
poem is
think I
saying.
can explain.
All right, Sarah, what do you think it means?
So I think the poem is about like Mary saying that that she did not really like she's not there anymore, that you shouldn't waste your time like staying there because she's probably gone to a better place, because
Mhm.
if she's died she's probably had a hard time, so she's gonna have an easier or worse time in her afterlife. So I think they're just trying to say that her spirit is not there anymore, like she's still like alive in a different way.
Good, yeah. So she's saying, that although she's dead and her body's not alive, she who she is no longer at the grave. She's not there. She's not dead. She's still alive in a sense because she is the winds. She is the snow. She's the sun. She's the rain. She's the morning rush. She's the bird in flight. She's the soft stars at night. Right? So she's still alive. So you should not stand there crying for her death, but rather, feel her presence around you. Who is the author talking to? So for this one, the reader, obviously, she's talking to the reader, but could the reader be, it's not an emotion, it's not the seasons. The other one could have been the author's family. Now, the reason it's not the author's family is because if you look at the entire poem, it's very, very broad, right? She makes no references to family. So she's saying to anyone and everyone, or whoever she's sending it to, maybe it could be a close friend, maybe it could be a teacher, maybe it could be a student, whoever it could be, she's being very broad to the reader, saying, "Hey, don't be sad about my death. I'm not dead yet. I'm still alive." Right? So that's why the answer is A.
I wrote season, but it's the reader.
In the lines, "I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I'm the diamond glints in the snow." The speaker implies that their presence is felt in different natural phenomena. Yes, that is correct. You can feel them in the different natural, like in nature, in the different nature phenomena, nature things. They are lost and wandering. Incorrect. They're visible only in winter. Incorrect. Because, I mean, if you really thought that was the case, what about autumn? She talks about autumn there, right? They're invisible and silent. No, not really, right? It's the meaning is that you can feel them in nature. The morning's hush is referring to, so let's take a look at the paragraph or the place where it's referred to. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush. So when you wake up, I guess it's saying early or in the morning, the feeling of wanting to get up, the feeling of energy, that's her. So the answer is the early hours of the morning, right? Question number 10. The mood of this poem can be A, melancholic. So melancholy, it means to be sad, sort of depressed, down. Somber means to be very serious, very, seeing things as they are. Placid, it means calm, like a placid lake. It means it's very calm and still. Soothing is relaxing slash comforting. Now, when I was thinking about it, I knew it's not sad because she's saying don't be sad. Like literally the poem is saying don't be sad. So it's not sad. It could be calm, but it's not the best description for it. Serious makes sense because she's talking about how things are. But the one that makes most sense is that it's soothing. And it's soothing in the way that it's comforting because it's saying, don't be sad for me. I'm not dead. I'm alive in all the things that's beautiful in this world. Don't be sad. I'm not there. I'm not dead. Do you guys understand? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why it's soothing.
Yes.
Do not stand.
Yes.
Why does the line, do not stand at my grave and cry mean? A, the author does not
Yes.
care for tears. So this thing, this line with A, the the reason A makes sense, but it's not a perfect answer is because when it says the author does not care for tears, it seems very cold, right? Not empathetic, right? Obviously, the answer is not B because it says, don't cry for her. And D, it's not correct as well. But C could also make sense. The author has no regrets about life that she's lived. The reason it's not C is because it doesn't make any mention about whether the author is happy about her life or sad about the life she lived. All it says is that she is not dead. So don't be sad for me. I'm still there with you. And therefore, A is the most correct answer. Now, the other way to think about it is not care for something. In Old English, it doesn't necessarily just mean, oh, I don't care about you. It just means that I don't want it. So, for example, if someone says, oh, I don't care for tea, it means that I don't want tea right now. Do you guys understand? Not
Yes,
old, like older English. What is the main idea of
yes,
this
Mom.
poem?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
death is not the end of the author's existence.
Yes,
Perfect.
Alan.
Because the author is not dead. The reader should welcome death. Incorrect. It doesn't really say that. Death should also be seen as a part of nature. No, she's saying she's alive in nature, not that death is part of nature. The author has already welcomed death. Not really. Like she's not welcoming death. She's just saying that she's not dead. She's still alive, right? So that's what that line means as well. So it is 4:56. I'll give you guys a 5-minute break. So remember, just like always, no talking during break. If I catch you guys talking during break, you will be removed from the call. The main reason I have that rule is because I'm going to go get some water as well. So, I won't be here to monitor you guys. But yeah, I'll get you guys all to come back at 5:02 p.m. 5:02 p.m. All right, I'll see you guys then.
Okay.
Stop.
All right. Hey everyone. So I have someone special I wanted to introduce you guys to. So this is Nathan. Nathan, just say hi. So Nathan was part of Loyola last year. He got into the GATE exam. And yeah, oh, that's his sister. They've just come to visit me.
Hello.
They can see you. All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, yeah. So
I'm
hope
Melvin.
we can do the same thing with you guys next year. You guys can come over and say hi to the year 4 kids.
Melvin.
Yeah.
Someone put up the whiteboard up.
Do you know their name?
I didn't see, but I didn't know who.
Anyone see their name?
K.
Okay, that's okay. I'll just kick them out now. All right. So let's continue. By the way, I hope by now you guys realize that we won't do the entire exam in today's session. So the one good thing about the mock exam week being 2 weeks is with me, you will go through the reading comprehension, and then we'll do a little bit of maths. In class, you'll go through, I would say, almost all, otherwise the most important abstract reasoning and quantitative reasoning questions. And then next week in the Zoom class as well, we'll get to go through some of the other ones as well. So let's go through the next text. A microscope is an instrument that is used to see objects that are too small to be seen by the naked eye. Microscopy is the science of investigating small objects and structures using such an instrument. Microscopic means invisible to the eye unless aided by a microscope. There are many types of microscopes, and they may be grouped in different ways. One way to describe the way the instruments interact with the sample to create images, either by sending a beam or light or electrons to a sample in its optical path, or by scanning across and a short distance from the surface of a sample using a probe. The most common microscope and the first to be invented is the optical microscope, which uses light to pass through a sample to produce an image. Other major microscopes are the fluorescence microscope or the electron microscope, both the transmission electron microscope and the scanning electron microscope, and various types of scanning probe microscopes. Oh my gosh, so many microscopes. Although objects resembling the lenses date back to 4,000 years, and there are Greek accounts of the optical properties of water-filled spheres, followed by many centuries of writings on optics, the earliest known use of simple microscopes, magnifying glasses, date back to widespread use of lenses in eyeglasses in the 13th century. The earliest known examples of compound microscopes, which combine an objective lens near the specimen with an eyepiece to view a real image, appeared in Europe around 1620. The inventor is unknown, although many claims have been made over the years. Several revolve around the spectacle-making centers in the Netherlands, including claims it was invented in 1590 by Zacharias Hansen, or claims made by his son or Zacharias's father, Hans Martens, claiming it was invented by their neighbor and rival spectacle maker, who applied for the first telescope patent in 1608, and claims it was invented by the expatriate Cornelius Drebbel, who was noted to have a version of it in London in 1619. Galileo Galilei, also sometimes cited as compound microscope inventor, seems to have found after 1610 that he should close focus his telescope to view small objects, and after seeing a compound microscope being built by Drebbel exhibited in Rome in 1624, built his own improved version. Giovanni Faber coined the term microscope for the compound microscope. Galileo submitted to the Accademia dei Lincei in 1625. Galileo called it the occhiolino, or the little eye. So, few things to go through. The first one is, what is another name for the compound microscope? So it's not spectacles. So spectacles is glasses. It's not magnifier, although it magnifies things. It's not an optical wonder. Occhiolino is correct because it is the Italian name that Galileo made for his compound microscope. Any questions about this?
Yes.
Yeah, if you have it, you can send it in the chat if you have a question. The optical microscope was first invented in 1624. That is incorrect because it says that there are claims that it was invented in 1590, but we do know that there was oops. Wait, no, that's also incorrect. Applied for the telescope patent, and Cornelius Drabel was known to have a version in 1619. So we know that he definitely had a microscope in 1619, but there are claims that it could have been in 1590. 1624 was when he showed the optical microscope, so it is not A. The optical microscope is not used frequently. That is incorrect. I don't think there's anything in the text that suggests this. Uses light to produce an image. That is correct. And the reason that is correct is because it says that here in the text, right here. So the common microscope is the optical microscope, which uses light to pass through a sample to produce an image. The answer is C, and it was not invented by Giovanni Faber, because Giovanni, I believe, improved it. Oh, sorry, he coined the term. So coined means he made, like, he connected that word. So for example, let me think something that makes sense for your context. So your generation, the Gen Alpha, and my generation, the Gen Z, we coined the term for something weird. We call something weird as sus, right? So we coined the term sus as weird. Do you guys understand?
Yes, Melvin.
Okay.
Didn't Gen Alpha do the thing sus?
Sorry?
Didn't Gen Alpha coin the term sus?
I don't understand. Did the Gen Alpha point the term out? I don't know. I mean, like Gen Z, I think started using it several years ago. You guys were probably six back then, so I'm not sure. Doesn't matter who did it, you know. It's not like we're gonna get an award for it. James, you had your hand up. James?
Oh, it was for question 13. I was just wondering what
So,
meant.
I can't hear it. Could you come closer?
I was still on track.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Question number 15. What is an example of a simple microphone? Sorry, simple microscope. Magnifying glass. Does a magnifying glass make small things, bigger to see? Yes, that is correct. It does. So James's question was, what is the word occhiolino? What does that mean? It means little eye. Spectacles don't make little things bigger. What your eyeglasses or eyewear, what they do is essentially they focus light rather than, I guess, make things bigger. So for example, if you were to take your glasses and bring it to something really small, it doesn't really magnify it, unless I think if it's a very big or very, I think, strong set of glasses. So these are incorrect. Say A is the most correct one. Single lens. I think there's a reference to a single lens somewhere here, but a lens is literally just a piece of glass, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a microscope. Who was the inventor of the eyepiece in 1620? So in 1620, let's see. several spectacle making centers, 1590 claimed that it was made by Sun as rival spectacle maker who applied for the telescope patent in 20. Expatriate who was found that after proposed his things. Let's see. So Giovanni Faber is not correct because he just coined the term. Zacharias Hansen. See, Zacharias Hansen, the claim was in 1590, and sure, he was a spectacle maker, so he was a glasses maker, right? But that's not correct for the question because it's not 1620, and it also says that it's not clear whether he actually invented anything or not. And nothing in the text, literally nothing in the text so far, says that they invented the eyepiece, right? It just says that the earliest known examples which combine an objective lens near the specimen with an eyepiece to view appeared in Europe around 1620, but it's not necessarily him. Hans Lippershey, I think that's just a random name. Is that an actual name in the text? No, it's Hans Martens. So that's incorrect as well. So the most correct answer would be undetermined, but claims have been made, right? It's undetermined. Sorry, one second. My laptop is about to die. I'm just gonna quickly go grab my charger and I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. Just got my charger. By the way, just wanted to quickly touch on the previous question. When you have a question like question 16, or just in general in reading comprehension, you can never choose an answer based on what you think it is. You always must have evidence within the text. And in question 16, there's no evidence that anyone invented it. There were claims that were made, and therefore you can't, choose the answer based on those claims. Which of the inventor coined the term microscope and for which invention? So let's go back. So was here Giovanni Faber coined the term microscope for the compound microscope Galileo submitted in 1625. So it wasn't Galileo. It was Galileo's microscope, but it wasn't Galileo who coined it. It wasn't Cornelius Drebbel because it wasn't him. It was Giovanni Faber for the compound microscope. Pretty easy. Which of the following is included in the text? Objects dating back 4,000 years that resemble lenses. So let's quickly find it. Although objects resembling lenses date back 4,000 years. So that was included in the text. All the names of the major spectacle makers. A few of them were mentioned, but we are not sure if all of them were mentioned. So this is incorrect. The first person to invent a microscope. This is not mentioned because we're not fully sure who it is. There's claims, so therefore we're not sure who it is. The name of the neighbor who was a rival spectacle maker. So let's see. Or Zacharias' father, Hans Martin, claims. So Hans Martin claims that it was invented by their neighbor. but it doesn't say who the neighbor is. So that's not included as well. So the answer is A. Which of the following was not included in the text? Little I, another name for compound microscope, that is included. It's the English translation of Galileo's name for the microscope. All the names of major microscopes. I'm not sure. We could assume this, but we don't know if all the names are mentioned. Pravina, thank you. The names of a few major microscopes, yes, that is mentioned, but the question is asking not included, so that is incorrect. Galileo is being cited as the inventor of the compound microscope. That is not included, right? It is not included just because, first of all, it's a Drabel, invented the compound. I mean, he made a compound microscope that Galileo saw. So it's definitely not Galileo. So it's not included that he was the inventor of the compound microscope. Dia, which question are you talking about?
Question 18.
What about question 18? Did you not understand?
I didn't understand when it said like included in the text. So did it mean like in each paragraph?
No, the text is the entire passage. So it was just asking which of the answers was included in this text here.
Can you also tell me how you got the answer?
So well, it mentions option A. So it mentions option A here. So I'll highlight it. It mentions it right here, but all the other ones it was not mentioned.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right. Sia had a good question where Sia says, for question 19, couldn't it also be B? Now, since D is definitely wrong, we know that D has to be the answer. B, remember I said maybe. And the reason I said maybe is because it mentions the different types of microscopes. So it talks about, let's see, here it says optical microscope, fluorescence microscope, electron microscope. Other major types are transmission microscope, scanning electron microscope, and various types of scanning probe microscope. So because it mentions those could be all the major ones. We're not fully sure, but it's not enough for us to say that's definitely incorrect. But we clearly know it's not D, so therefore that's why D is the answer. Famous quotes. The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every time we fall. So, Siddharth, what do you think this quote means? Siddharth,
Yeah.
what do you think this quote means? If you don't know, it's okay.
Like never like we think that we're not failing, but sometimes we fail, and like mistakes are unexpected sometimes.
Samad or Abdul, what do you think this means? This quote, what do you think it means? Anish? By the way, Anish, is that Venkat next to you?
Yes, it is.
Can I say hi?
Oh yeah, sure.
Hey, Melvin.
Oh my God. Hi, Venkat. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. By the way, guys, if you, I'm sure I've told you guys this multiple times already, but Venkat was one of my first students in Loyola. He came to my house, stole my snacks, from my kitchen and stuff,
Yeah.
and he's definitely not my favorite student. Joke, joke. I mean, wink, wink. But yeah, that's crazy. You're in year 9 now. You're 10.
Yeah, you're nine.
Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. So, Anish, what do you think the quote means?
I think it means like learning from your mistakes, because like the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling. That means I think it means always being correct or something. And then but in rising every time we fall, I think that means making a mistake and then learning from it.
Yeah. So, for example, it's not the team that never loses that's the most impressive, but rather the team that never gives up. That's most important, or that's most impressive. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. AK, what do you think that means? Gurnier?
Yes.
Yeah, what do you think that second quote means?
I think that it means to like whenever you're doing something, instead of talking, just like do it. So like don't waste your time talking.
Perfect. Yeah, it's better to get started on something than just waste time planning. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Rian, do you want to say what that means? Gen C and Renzi?
I think it means that, so for example, that you're wasting your time with something which is what's important in other people's lives instead of yours.
Good, yeah. So for example, let's just say there's something you're passionate about. Like recently I saw this, it was like it's just a meme. So it wasn't meant to be super deep, but the meme was like the meme just said, no, it didn't say skibbity toilet, guys. It said be cringe and be happy. Right? Be cringe and be happy. So at first, I didn't think too much of it. I thought I was like, whatever. But then I was thinking about it the other day, and what it made me realize is that so many of us are so worried about being judged, and we're so worried about being cool that we're willing to be boring and uncomfortable when we could be just cringe and be happy, right? So what Steve Jobs is saying is that your time on this earth, this floating rock in space, it's limited. It's not a very long time or infinite time you get to be here. So don't spend the rest of your life being the master of other people's expectations, right? If life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor. So again, Eleanor Roosevelt here is saying that life is unpredictable. Life is, good things can happen, bad things can happen. If it were predictable, it would be without flavor. If you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. So Oprah here is talking about being happy, being grateful about the things that you have, rather than wanting more or looking at the things that you don't have, being ungrateful. So someone asked me what the word dogma means. So dogma, it's not it's nothing to do with dogs and it's nothing to do with ligma. Dogma is it's it describes kind of like the word comes from religion, right? So, in religion, you have very specific rules on how you should live, right? That's dogma. So dogma in, for example, in schools could be like, this is what successful means. This is what you should do. This is what you should do. Things like that. So it's just like a code on like how things ought to be. And it's saying you don't have to be trapped by other people's dogma or what other people's expectations are. Right? Let's take a look at the last few really quickly. If you set your goals ridiculously high and as a failure, you will fail above everyone else's success. Basically just saying that just if you have a very ambitious goal, even if you fail, you'll be failing above what other people even dreamt of. So, it's like shoot for the moon, you will land on the stars. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Honestly, I didn't really like this quote. I don't know. Maybe I didn't understand the meaning behind it, but I think what John Lennon is probably saying here is that humans are always making plans, right? So right now, all of you are making plans to study for the GATE exam. But as soon as you finish the GATE exam, then it's all about making plans to do well in school. Once you finish that, then you're like, it's about studying for ATAR. Once you finish that, then it's about doing well in university. Then it's about getting a job. Then it's about getting a house. Then it's about blah 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 blah, right? So life is what happens in between. Sorry, Pragun, what are you saying in the chat? I don't understand.
So you know how you said LIGMA?
Yeah.
It's racist to fat people?
How so?
I don't know. I just found out.
Okay.
I'm Googling it.
Yeah, so Pragun, just remember that it's not appropriate for the class. Okay. Anyways, so what John Lennon is saying is that in life, you go in between making plans about different things that you want to achieve, things like that. And what life is essentially is what happens as you're, making these plans. So as you're studying GATE, you have all these memories of studying with your friends about these mock exams and things like that. That is life. But at the same time, technically, you're busy making plans for your future. So question number 20. The passage uses quotes from influential figures to highlight the importance of what? Perseverance and resilience. So perseverance and resilience both means to not give up, keep working hard. Taking immediate action. Yes, like it does say that, but only one of the quotes say that. And that is Walt Disney's quote. Avoiding predictable routines. Not really. None of the quotes really says that. I think you could be mistaken by Eleanor Roosevelt's quote, but that's not what it's saying. Setting high goals for success, on the right track again, but only James Cameron says that. So the best one I would say is perseverance and resilience because Nelson Mandela says that. Eleanor Roosevelt's quote here about life being unpredictable is what gives us flavor. Suggests that. James Cameron talks about setting high goals even if you fail. And yeah, I would say we have several quotes that lead to that as opposed to the other ones. Even Steve Jobs talks about, living your goal instead of someone else's. So I'd say A is a correct answer there. All right. In the context of the passage, what does the quote by Walt Disney suggest about initiating tasks? Talking about tasks is more important than actually doing them. Definitely incorrect. Success can only be achieved by quitting other activities. Doesn't really say that. The first step towards achieving goals is to take action. Yes, setting goals is more crucial than discussing them. This is also incorrect because he says you have to do them rather than just setting goals or discussing them, right? It's all about action. So the answer is C. The word dogma in Steve Jobs' quote most likely refers to personal beliefs and values, not really. Because again, as I mentioned, dogma is an organization or other people's set of ideas of how you should live life, essentially, not scientific principles. Traditional and established thinking, yes. Religious religious doctrines and teachings. Look, the word dogma is based off religion. It's a religion-based word, but it doesn't. But in this context, it's not a religious word. Do you guys understand the difference? So, for example, the word
Yes.
reincarnation,
Yes.
reincarnation, it's a religious
Yes.
idea about how people die and then they come back alive in another being, and then they come back again in another being, and then it's you reincarnate. But you can have reincarnation in video games, right? Where essentially you don't really die. You always come back to play the round again, right? Similarly, dogma has its word, the roots in in religion, but in this context, he's talking about traditional thinking or what people think you should do. According to Eleanor Roosevelt's quote, why does life lack flavor if it were predictable? Predictability hinders personal growth and progress. Not really. For example, you can have a predictable routine of working hard, so you could have personal growth and progress. Unpredictability brings excitement and novelty to life. That is correct. By the way, novelty means new, like new things, right? So things that are unpredictable keeps life exciting and new. Life loses its meaning when it follows a routine pattern. That's not what she's saying. Predictability limits the opportunities for success and happiness. That's not what she's saying as well. So the answer is B. Based on Oprah Winfrey's quote, what attitude towards life is encouraged? So let's take a look at Oprah's quote. She says, if you look at what you have in life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. Contentment with what one has achieved. So contentment means being happy with what you have. So I would say this is correct so far. Constantly striving for more accomplishments? No. She's saying if you look for what you don't have, you'll be miserable. You have to keep being happy with what you have. Yes, Ethan, we are doing reading comprehension for today. Focusing on things one lack in life. She's not saying you should do that. Setting realistic and attainable goals. She's not saying that as well. She's saying you must be content with what you have. Any questions about this passage? If you do, send it in the chat and I'll take a look. Ananya? Hannah?
Melvin.
So contentment means to be happy with what you have. Send your questions in the chat. Yes, you guys can take a screenshot if you want. All right. Second last text.
Melvin.
Send it in the chat, my friend Theron. I pencil. I am a pencil, simple as I might seem. There's a lot more to me than meets the eye. Even though I look like an everyday object, my creation involves a process so complex that no single person knows how to make me from start to finish. If you can understand my story, you can appreciate the amazing way people work together in this world. First, let's start with wood. The wood for me comes from cedar trees in Oregon. Lumberjacks cut down trees, and then they're transported to a sawmill. At the sawmill, the logs are cut into thin slats and dried in a kiln. This wood is then sent to a pencil factory. Next, there's graphite, which is what makes my lead. The graphite is mined in Sri Lanka and mixed with clay to make it strong. This mixture is baked in a kiln and treated with wax or oil to make it smooth. This graphite core is then placed inside the wooden slats. The eraser on my end comes from the rubber trees in Indonesia. The latex from these trees is collected and processed into rubber. This rubber is mixed with sulfur and other chemicals to make it durable. Then it is shaped and attached to my end with a metal ring called a ferrule or a ferrule. The metal for the ferrule or ferrule comes from the mines where workers extract it from the earth. It is then processed in factories to make the thin sheet metal that is rolled and crimped around the eraser and my wooden body. The paint that covers me comes from different chemicals and pigments mixed and applied to protect the wood and gives me a nice finish. Each of the steps involves many people, miners, factory workers, chemists, and more. None of them know how to make a whole pencil by themselves. They only know the part of the process. Second guy. All right. Only part of the process. It's amazing to think about how many people it takes to make something as simple as a pencil. What's even more incredible is that all these people who work together without even realizing it, they don't need to know each other or plan together. The market, through prices and supply and demand, coordinates all their efforts. It is like an invisible hand guiding them to work together. Think about how the woodcutter doesn't need to know about the chemist making the paint, and the miner doesn't need to know about the factory worker assembling the pencil. They all just do their jobs, and somehow a pencil is made. This is the beauty of the free market. So when you use a pencil, remember that it's from the production of a global cooperation. People from different countries and different jobs all played a part in making it. This shows how connected we all are and how we rely on each other, even for something as simple as a pencil. By understanding my story, you can appreciate the miracle of human cooperation and the amazing system that allows us to create so many things. It's a reminder of the power of working together, even when we don't realize we're doing it. So, question number 25. The main idea in this passage is to illustrate the simplicity of making a pencil. This is incorrect because it shows how complex making a pencil is. The global cooperation involved in making a pencil, yes, because it talks about workers in Oregon who make the trees, the workers in Indonesia who make the rubber, workers in Sri Lanka who make the clay, and the chemist who makes the paint, the miner who gets the metal, things like that. The history of pencil making, incorrect. It doesn't talk about the past, and it doesn't talk about the cost. So it's not the history nor the cost. So the answer is B. According to the passage, the invisible hand refers to the coordination of market forces that guide production. Yeah, I think it says it here somewhere. What's more incredible that these people work together without even realizing it. They don't need to know each other or plan together. The market, through prices and supply and demand, coordinates all their efforts. It's like an invisible hand guiding them to work together. So it is the coordination of market forces. The hidden supervisor managing the process, there is no hidden supervisor. It's not the pencil factory worker. It's not a secret organization. It's a coordination of all the different market forces of the prices, the supply, demand, things like that. The passage implies that people involved in making a pencil need to know each other's work intimately. It doesn't. It says that each person can work alone and can still make a pencil. It doesn't say they need to work closely in a factory. It says that they are unaware of how the entire pencil is made. That is correct. The person who cuts a tree doesn't know how to make clay, and the person who makes clay doesn't know how to make rubber. They frequently communicate to coordinate their efforts. It doesn't imply that as well. Which of the following best reflects the overall message of the passage? The complexity of manufacturing pencils. Yes, it does tell us how complex it is. You need wood, you need paint, you need rubber, you need metal, you need paint. Did I miss anything? Lead. You need lead as well. Graphite. The beauty of global cooperation and free market. Yes, it says that. The importance of using natural resources wisely. Doesn't say anything about that. The technological advancement in pencil making. Doesn't say anything about that. So the answer is B. Do you guys understand? Any questions
Yeah.
about this passage so far?
Yes.
If you guys have any questions, send it in the chat about this passage. Awesome. I think, therefore I am. René Descartes was a famous philosopher who wanted to find out what we can absolutely be sure about. He realized that many things we believe might be wrong or could be doubted. For example, our senses can sometimes trick us, like when we see a mirage or dream something that feels real. Sorry, before I continue, Sia, which question are you talking about?
The question that we just like did before.
28?
Yeah.
So, although it talks about the complexity of manufacturing pencils, the main message, it says, reflects the overall message, is the message is about how everyone works together around the world without having to rely on each other. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you.
He realized that many things we believe might be wrong or could be doubted. For example, our senses can trick us, like when we see a mirage or dream something that feels real. So he decided to doubt everything he could until he found something that can't be doubted. After thinking about it deeply, Descartes found one thing that he could not doubt: the fact that he was thinking. So what is a mirage? A mirage is kind of like an optical illusion. So it's usually used to describe people who live in very hot climates, like people who live in the Sahara. When you travel through the desert, you see things that are not there. You see water when it's not really there. So it's an optical illusion. After thinking about it deeply, Descartes found one thing he couldn't doubt: the fact that he was thinking. Even if he doubted everything else, he couldn't doubt that he was having thoughts. He realized that if he was thinking, then he must exist to have these thoughts. This led him to his famous conclusion: I think, therefore I am, or in Latin, cogito ergo sum. This statement means that the very act of thinking is proof of one's existence. If you're wondering whether you exist, the fact that you're thinking about it proves that you do exist. Descartes used this idea as a foundation for his philosophy, building on the certainty that he exists because he can think. Descartes' insight is important because it shows how we can start from a simple, undeniable truth and use it to understand more about ourselves and the world. It reminds us that our ability to think and question is a powerful tool for discovering truth and gaining knowledge. I think, therefore I am, is a famous statement by the philosopher René Descartes. He wanted to find a truth that could not be doubted. He realized that while he doubted many things, he could not doubt that he was doubting. To doubt, he had to be thinking, and if he was thinking, then he must exist. This realization led to him conclude that the very act of thinking proves his existence. In other words, Descartes' statement means that, James, we can hear you. Our ability to think, yeah, you shouldn't be talking when we're taking class, James.
Start testing something.
Okay. Even if everything else we believe might be an illusion, the fact that we're thinking about it shows that there is a thinker, and that thinker is us. This idea is the foundation of Descartes' philosophy and emphasizes the importance of doubt and critical thinking in understanding the world and ourselves. All right. Anyone have any questions about this text or the one before? If you have it, send it in the chat, or you can put your hand. Actually, I prefer you send it in the chat so I can choose questions. Any questions about this text itself, like whether you didn't understand it, you understood it, things like that? No? Awesome. Which of the following, okay. Nope on a rope. All right. Which of the following best describes Descartes' approach to finding truth? So what did Descartes do? Descartes was, he didn't know what was real, what was fake. So what did he start off by doing? He was not accepting. He was not optimistic. He was like, oh, everything's going to be good. He wasn't indifferent in the sense that it's not like he didn't care about anything. He was skeptical. He asked what really exists, right? So Descartes started out by saying, hey, look, for example, for us, this is even more scarier. If you guys think back literally 10 years ago and you look at video games from 10 years ago, you can see how bad the graphics are. But right now, graphics of games are so good that some video games, you can take a screen recording of it and you can show it to someone and people get confused whether it's real or not in 10 years. Now imagine in 1,000 years how good video games could be. So the question Descartes was saying is that how do we know that we're not inside a video game right now and that everyone else around us are NPCs? They don't exist. How can you tell whether it's real or whether it's fake? And what Descartes said was that I have no idea. I can't prove anything. Everything could be fake. But what Descartes realized was there's one thing that cannot be fake. And the one thing that must be real is myself. Because I'm thinking. And because I'm thinking, it means that I must exist. Do you guys understand?
Yes, Melvin.
Yes, Melvin.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes, Melvin.
The phrase or
Yes,
sentence
Melvin.
can sometimes
Yes,
trick
Melvin.
us implies that
Yes, Melvin.
we can always trust our senses. That is incorrect. It's saying that it can trick us. Our senses are reliable. Incorrect. Our senses can be tricky sometimes. Yes, that is correct. Our senses are fallible. So fallible, it's a difficult word, and this was a tricky question that I put in on purpose. So it means the ability to make a mistake, or it can make a mistake. The reason D is more correct than A is that it's not that our senses are tricky at times, it's that they can be tricked at times. Do you understand? Tricked. So fallible means
Yes.
can be wrong. In lines 1 to 5, Descartes is initially what? So let's look at lines 1 to 5. René Descartes was a famous philosopher who wanted to find out what we can actually be sure of. He realized that many things we believe in might be wrong and could be doubted. For example, our senses can sometimes trick us, like when we see a mirage or a dream, something that feels real. So, certain about his beliefs, but doubtful. He was not certain about any of his beliefs. He is doubtful. So this is partially correct. This part is correct, but the first part is wrong. Doubtful of everything, then find certainty in thinking. So he says that many things we believe can be wrong or doubted, but this first 5 lines hasn't said anything about, we can be certain about our thinking. It doesn't say that yet. Unaware of his thoughts, and then he becomes self-aware. This also makes sense. He starts off, not thinking too much about anything. He wanted to find out what we can be sure about, and then he goes on this journey as we see. So he was unaware of his thoughts and becomes self-aware. So what is happening around the world? Focused on other people's opinions, not in the text. So out of all of them, the most correct answer is C. This was a tricky question. The reason it's not B is because it doesn't say anything about the second part. But C makes sense because it starts off about him not being sure about, I guess, what is real, what is fake. And then he becomes self-aware in the sense that he realizes that I should figure out the truth. And that's why it's C. Descartes concluded that I think, therefore I am, because he realized that his senses were reliable. That's incorrect. He says that his senses can trick him. He could doubt everything except the fact that he was thinking. That is correct. He was the only person who existed. He doesn't say that. He's saying that he can definitely be sure that he exists, but he's not fully sure if other people exist or not. Everything around him was an illusion. It's not correct. He's saying that he's not sure. It could be an illusion. It could be real. The correct answer is he could doubt everything except for the fact that he was thinking. Do you guys understand? Any questions?
I understand.
Excuse me. The comparison of thinking to existence in Descartes' conclusion is included to emphasize that thinking is a complex process, not necessarily. Existence is proven through doubt. The act of thinking is undeniable proof of existence. This is correct. So he's comparing thinking to existence because he says that because I think, I know I must exist. Doubt leads to confusion about existence. No, that's not what this comparison is about. What does the word optimistic means? So optimist or optimistic, it means to be hopeful or hopeful about the future, that things are going to get better than they are now.
Thank you.
Descartes, you're welcome. Descartes' insight is considered important because it shows that doubting everything is the key to knowledge, maybe, because he gained knowledge by starting with a doubt. Or since they're the most reliable source of truth, this is definitely wrong. It says it can be tricked. Starting from a simple, undeniable truth can lead to a greater understanding. Yes. Questioning is pointless in discovering truth. This is incorrect because he starts with a question and then he leads to the truth. The answer is C. Which of the following statements is consistent with the information of the passage? Descartes' philosophy relies on sensory information. Incorrect. It does not rely on any senses. He says that it could be tricked. Diminishes the need for logical reasoning. No, he's saying you need logical reasoning to come to conclusions. Builds on the certainty of self-awareness. Yeah. Suggests that existence cannot be proven. This is incorrect. He proves existence. Therefore, he builds on the certainty of self-awareness. So his philosophy starts off with the idea that I exist, I am aware of my existence, and therefore we can figure the rest of things out. Do you guys understand?
Yes, Melvin.
Yes.
Yes,
All
Melvin.
right, so that's it for reading comprehension. Just to recap, a few tips or things that you should have learned from today, the few main things. The first main thing was, again, remember everything we went through writing. We went through writing today, and then we went through reading comp. So main few things from reading comp to take home is that 1, you must answer based on evidence from the text. 2, choose the small passages with the most questions and not the long passage with few questions. That's another tip. The third thing is choose the best answer. So for example, like question number 11, we had 2 questions that were kind of okay, but you have to choose the best answer. So yeah, that's it, guys. I'll see you guys next week where we will go through quantitative reasoning and abstract reasoning. I don't think we'll go through all of it. I'll be sending your teachers a list of questions that I want them to go through, and then it'll be the rest of the questions that I will strive to go through over Zoom. But yeah, if that's pretty much it, guys. I can't stay for too long today just because I have to be somewhere exactly at about 6:30. But yeah, some people said, do you have homework? You don't have homework, but what you should be doing is going through the mock exam and answering all the questions that you haven't done yet. All right. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week.
Melvin.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Melvin.
Bye,
Melvin.
dear.
Bye,
See you
Melvin.
tomorrow.